The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in unprecedented chaos. Representatives from 47 species filled the crystalline chamber, their various forms of communication creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and telepathic static that threatened to overwhelm the translation matrices. "Order, order!" Ambassador Kalex of the Zentari Federation hammered his energy gavel against the podium, his forearms gesticulating wildly. "The motion before us is clear. Immediate intervention to prevent the massacre of the indigenous species of Sol 3. Zia Chen sat in the human observer's pod, her dark eyes scanning the assembly with quiet intensity. As Earth's first official representative to the Council, she had spent 3 years building relationships and advocating for her species' inclusion in galactic society. Now, watching the alien delegates argue over her planet's fate, she felt the weight of humanity's future pressing down on her shoulders. "The hegemony has deployed 12 battle fleets," reported the insectoid representative from Kythera Prime, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Their bioweapons alone could sterilize the planet within cycles. The humans have no chance." "Precisely why we must act," interjected Elsa 7, the synthetic consciousness representing the machine collective. Her holographic form flickered with agitation, an unusual display of emotion for her kind. "The hegemony's expansion must be stopped somewhere." "Why not here?" "Because it's suicide," growled the reptilian delegate from Sauros Major. "The humans are barely a Type 1 civilization. They haven't even mastered faster-than-light travel independently. What could they possibly do against the hegemony's most advanced fleet?" Zia rose from her seat, activating the translation field around her pod. The chamber fell silent as hundreds of alien eyes turned toward the small human woman. "With respect, honored delegates," she began, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "You underestimate us because you measure strength by your own standards. We may not have your technology, but we have something else." "What?" The question came from multiple sources simultaneously. "We have nothing left to lose." 3 days later, the hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Vorthak, Supreme Commander of the Invasion Force, studied the tactical displays with satisfaction. 12 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers, and over 200 support vessels. More than enough to crush any resistance from the primitive mammals inhabiting the third planet. "Initial scans complete, Admiral," reported his tactical officer, detecting approximately 8 billion life forms on the target world. "Their technology appears limited to crude rocket propulsion and nuclear fission." "Pathetic," Vorthak sneered. "Signal the fleet. We advance in standard formation. This will be over within a solar rotation." But as the hegemony fleet advanced toward Earth, something unexpected began to happen. The planet didn't go dark and silent as conquered worlds typically did. Instead, activity increased. Radio transmissions multiplied exponentially. Energy signatures spiked across the globe. "Admiral," the tactical officer's voice carried a note of uncertainty. "I'm reading massive mobilization on the planet's surface. They appear to be responding to our presence. Responding how? They can barely leave their own atmosphere." "That's just it, sir. They're not trying to leave. They're digging in." In the council chamber, the assembled delegates watched the tactical feeds in stunned silence. Earth's response to the invasion was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. "Look at this," Elsa 7 highlighted portions of the data stream. "They're converting their entire industrial base in real time. Automobile factories are producing weapons. Civilian spacecraft are being retrofitted with improvised armaments. They're literally turning their planet into a fortress." "But they'll still be slaughtered," protested the Kytherian delegate. "Brave gestures mean nothing against hegemony firepower." Zia smiled grimly. "You still don't understand. Watch what happens next." The first hegemony probe ships entered Earth's outer atmosphere, expecting to encounter scattered resistance from primitive aircraft. Instead, they found themselves in a 3-dimensional hell of defensive fire. Not just from military installations, but from everywhere. Civilian buildings, cargo ships, even personal vehicles had been weaponized with whatever humans could jury-rig in 72 hours. "Impossible," breathed Ambassador Kalex. "They're using chemical explosives against energy shields." "It shouldn't work." "It doesn't," Zia admitted. "But they're not trying to win individual engagements. They're trying to win the war." As the council watched, pattern began to emerge from the chaos. Every human weapon that fired revealed its position and was quickly destroyed by return fire. But in those precious seconds before destruction, each position transmitted targeting data to 3 other hidden positions. When those were destroyed, the data passed to 9 more. The network grew exponentially, becoming more accurate with each exchange. "They're learning," Elsa 7 observed with something approaching awe. "Each engagement makes the collective response more effective. They're treating their entire species as a single adaptive organism." Admiral Vorthak's confidence evaporated as casualty reports flooded in. His supposedly overwhelming technological advantage was being negated by the humans' bizarre tactics. They seemed utterly unconcerned with individual survival, caring only about the effectiveness of their collective response. "Sir, the humans are launching everything," his tactical officer reported in disbelief. "Civilian transports filled with explosives on collision courses. They're using their own population centers as weapons platforms. I've never seen anything like it." "No species fights like this," Vorthak muttered, watching another probe squadron disappear into the meat grinder of Earth's desperate defense. "They should surrender. They should run. They should at least try to preserve some portion of their population." But the humans did none of these things. Instead, they fought with the ferocity of cornered animals, turning every scrap of matter on their planet into either a weapon or a shield. Cities became bunkers. Families became combat units. Children learned to operate missile guidance systems before they learned to read. The galactic observers watched in horrified fascination as humanity revealed its true nature, not as individuals seeking survival, but as a species that would rather die fighting than live in chains. "The hegemony fleet is withdrawing," reported the Zentari sensor operator, his voice thick with disbelief. The council chamber erupted in chaos. In 3,000 years of recorded galactic history, the hegemony had never retreated from an inferior opponent. Zia remained seated, watching the tactical display with quiet satisfaction. Earth still burned in dozens of places. Millions of her people were dead. But humanity had achieved something no other species in the galaxy had managed. They had made the hegemony afraid. "How?" Ambassador Kalex's question was barely a whisper. "Because," Zia replied, rising to address the stunned assembly, "we didn't fight to win. We fought to show them that conquering us would cost more than leaving us alone. Every species they've defeated tried to preserve something. We were willing to sacrifice everything." She paused, looking at each delegate in turn. "That's what you never understood about humans. We don't fight for victory. We fight for survival. And sometimes, survival means being too dangerous to defeat." The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of the translation matrices. Finally, Elsa 7 spoke, her synthetic voice carrying an unmistakably human quality of respect. "The Machine Collective formally recognizes Earth's petition for full membership in the Galactic Council," she announced. "Any species capable of what we just witnessed deserves a voice in our future." One by one, the other delegates voiced their agreement. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not through technological advancement or diplomatic cunning, but through the oldest currency in the universe, the willingness to fight for what they believed in, no matter the cost. As the session adjourned and the delegates dispersed to their respective ships, word of humanity's desperate stand began to spread across the galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as primitive mammals had reminded the universe of a fundamental truth. Sometimes the greatest weapon is simply refusing to surrender.